Hi, I'm Chris Bensted and I'm a driving instructor and parent. I've been a driving instructor for over 13 years and helped thousands of parents like yourself become amazing supervising drivers to support your children in their journey onto the road and taking their driving test. Marmalade Insurance have asked me out in the great British weather to come and give you some top tips to take you from nervous passenger to supervising driver and keep you and your child safe on the road. So when you're preparing for your first private practice session, there's the obvious things like making sure that you've got adequate learner driver insurance, that you have a provisional license for the learner driver that's got an up-to-date photo on it so it doesn't get refused for the driving test, and L plates front and back. So things will have changed from when you took your training, so make sure that your information is up to date, and you can do this by rereading your highway code and having a look at the DVSA website. It's the DT1 that you're looking for, so if you Google DVSA DT1, you'll find the examiner notes, and that will give you a really good idea of what's important to them and what they're looking for. Focus on safety and mirror signal manoeuvre, or what I prefer is look, tell, do. If you can make sure that the learner driver is focused on those observations and communication skills, then they're going to be safe on the road. The other things that you can do are speak to the driving instructor for the learner driver and see what they've been practicing and what you can go out and safely practice yourselves. Make sure that the practice is inside of the experience level of the learner driver and that you are planning ahead and you know what's going to be round the next corner to keep both of you safe. So that's how you can keep yourself safe on those first couple of lessons while you get used to being in the passenger seat and they get used to you being in the car with them. Structuring the first session is really important. Have some goals so you both know what you're trying to achieve and make them small things so that you can tick them off as you go. Try not to tell the learner what to do. Ask them questions. They know how they've learnt and how they've been taught, so you can then get them to show you and demonstrate, which makes there less chance of being an argument inside the car and you get more productive sessions afterwards. And if something does go wrong, look at why. It's not a problem, it's something that we can look to try and solve and improve on. So go somewhere nice and quiet with maybe some slopes so they can get used to the clutch control in your car. It can be very different from the instructor's car, particularly if there's a difference between petrol and diesel. Your instructor will be able to help guide you through that. And if you find any differences in learning, speak to the driving instructor and ask your learner driver. They've been taught the modern approach, so they may be able to talk you through it and you can work together to find out the best practice approach. So make sure that you've got adequate insurance for the roads that you're using. Even in private roads and car parks, you need insurance on the car to be legal, and we don't want your learner getting points on their license before they've even passed their test. You're not there to teach, you're there to support their practice. So while you're out and about, commentary is a really good way to work on their driving skills and help with their planning ahead, and it'll give you the confidence in what they are doing. So that if you've seen something up ahead and they haven't mentioned it, you can ask them, what are you going to do about the cyclist? Or where are you going to go at this junction? By using these questioning techniques, they will be able to develop their experience. And the studies show that about 100 hours of experience is what's key to developing a safe driver. So the more real life experience you can get, the safer they're going to be once they pass their test. Getting a depth of experience is key to making the learner safe on the road. So going out and doing night driving, bad weather driving, and experiencing things like the rush hour and school runs is really important to making sure that they are able to predict what dangers might be happening up ahead and plan for them before they happen. That's going to make them a safer driver. Some of the things that may have changed since you learned to drive include steering. The 10-to-2 position is not vital. Pushing and feeding the wheel through isn't essential. It's about having control over the steering. So making sure that the driver is in control. If they cross their hands over slightly, it's not best practice, but it is fine as long as they are in control. So don't worry too much about the exact position and feeding that wheel. Gear changing. Now, gear changing used to be taught 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is referred to as sequential gear changing. But it's perfectly acceptable to skip gears and choose the gear that's best suited for the situation. So brakes to slow and then drop into the gear that you need, for example, for a junction maybe. So by choosing the correct gear, you're going to have better control of the vehicle and you're not going to be wearing out your clutch and gearbox. And then the other thing that's changed are the manoeuvres on the test. There is no turning in the road on the test now, and the reverse corner has gone. We instead got forward and reverse bay parking, parallel parking, and then a manoeuvre called pulling up on the right. It's a right reverse. So you pull up on the right, reverse back 2 car lengths, and then drive off. Imagine there's a lorry in front of you and you can't see past it, so you're reversing back to get a better view. So these much more realistic, real life manoeuvres are going to be something that they will experience on the driving test. It doesn't mean you can't practice a turning in the road or reverse corner. It just means that they're not going to be on the test. You might live in a road where turning in the road is a vital skill, and I'm sure your instructor will still be teaching it. So consider what you need to learn, consider how you learnt, but make use of the learner driver's experience from their lessons to get it right, so you're not teaching them bad habits. It's important to remember that the rules of the road apply to you, the supervising driver, in the same way that they would if you were behind the wheel. So you can't use your mobile phone, you can't sit reading a map, you can't have a nap, and you mustn't be over the drink drive limit. So make sure that you are road legal when you're supervising a learner driver on the road. The reason for this is you need to be aware of what's happening up ahead and able to step in if the learner driver gets out of their depth or makes a mistake, and sometimes they can catch you off guard. So keep alert, keep aware, and keep looking up ahead. Here are my top tips for a parent taking out a learner driver for private practice. Tip number 1, establish a stop command. So if you mean stop, if it's a serious situation, rather than just asking them to stop at the side of the road, raising your hand in a stop fashion is a good way to communicate that you really mean it. So agree with the learner in advance that stop means stop. Tip number 2, be constructive with your time. Have a goal and a plan and try to look at something specific. Generally driving is great, but actually the learner driver will feel they've achieved more if you decide what you're going to go and work on. Make this reflect what they've been practicing in their previous lesson with the instructor. Tip number 3, it takes time. Sometimes sleeping on it can really help resolve issues. So if it's not going well, call it a day and revisit it the next day or a little bit later, and you'll be amazed that sometimes it just falls into place. Tip number 4, it takes 2. Work together, it's a team exercise. Ask questions, learn from each other, and try to keep it as cool and calm and relaxed as you can. It can be a stressful experience, but falling out never helps anybody. So tip number 5 is make sure that you've got the right supervising driver for the learner driver. If you're having a personality clash and it's not working out, find someone else who's suitably qualified to sit in the passenger seat and support them. In the same way as with a driving instructor, if you've got good personalities working together, then it can be a much more positive experience, and you want to make learning to drive as positive as you can. So tip number 6 is make use of your resources. Talk to your driving instructor, look at the examiner guidance, the DT1 notes from the DVSA, and visit Marmalade Insurance on YouTube to find some really useful videos with myself talking through manoeuvres and different aspects of learning to drive to help you and your learner get it right first time.